this is Mari Lane on the Buying Space channel. This morning I'm checking my blood sugar and it's at 333, which is unfortunately very typical for my blood sugar in the morning. I have something called Down syndrome, and that's when you don't eat for a certain amount of time. And this is true for everybody. Your liver kicks in and starts putting sugars in your bloodstream without you eating or doing anything. It's quite annoying. I don't really like my liver anymore, but that's what it does. And so that means I get to shoot up more insulin. Now, we made a family trip to the doctor's office yesterday, and we got a lot accomplished that had been lingering for quite some time. The insulin I take, if you watched yesterday's video, you will see that I have to, on my syringe, pull back to 100 units for my long term. So here's my short term, here's my long term, Humulin R, Humulin N. Now, the syringe I use for short term is this one with the safety cap. And I found out yesterday, I was at the endocrinologist office, and they said this safety cap is to protect you or a nurse or doctor or whoever, diabetic educator, whoever is inserting insulin into you, which would mainly be in a hospital setting. This will prevent them from getting hurt, and I'll show you that in a minute. And this is the one that I use. See, this is what got... Yeah, this is for the short term. This is for the long term. I'm sorry if I said that backwards before, because this has 100 units on it. Because I take 100 units. I'm just going to go ahead and take the lid off of this. I usually have another container here, or I'll throw this part and this part in the trash. But I'm just going to put it in my sharps container today. Those parts do not touch anything biological, and they're not sharp. So I try to be conservative on how much I put in my sharps container, so that way I get to use it longer. So I push that straight in, and I've pulled my plunger out, almost out to the point of where I need it, because for the amount of units I'm doing 100. That's one of the problems you get into when you're taking more than 100 units of insulin a day, or in one setting, because you have to pull it all the way out. And see, this plunger wants to be sucked back in from the lack of air, because I had difficulty pulling. Oops. It's amazing I didn't spill any. Okay, I'm going to plunge back in. Actually, there's an air bubble at the very end. You don't want an air bubble at the beginning. There's an air bubble at the end. Now, I shoot up 1.5 inches from my belly button, but I rotate the space. If you shoot up at the same place over and over, what happens is you get like a nodule or a knot or a hard place. Now, usually I store this in the garbage, and I store this only in the sharps container. It's very early in the morning, and I didn't bring over. I don't normally test at this presentation table. So I don't have, usually I'm sitting next to a garbage can where I'm shooting up. Now I'm going to open this up. I say in a prior video why I put certain things in the trash and certain things in the sharps container. So you can go back and watch prior videos if you're curious as to why I do certain things certain ways. Now I have to titrate. So I have a base of 50 for 50 numbers, and I'm over 180. So I'm well over 180. Yes, I'm a little confused right now. That's what high blood sugars can do to you. So I'm at 333. So for every 50 spaces that I am over 180, I add 2. That's my titration. So I'm at 333. So you start at 150, 150 to 200, 200 to 250, 250 to 300, 300 to 350. So I'm 4 intervals above 150, or really 180. But anyway, over 180 is above your normal blood sugar range or healthy range. But with the increments, you start with 150. So that's 4 50 milliliter gaps that I'm over 180. So that's 4 times 2 is 8. So that's 8 additional units I need to take on top of my base. My base is 50. And if you look at this syringe, there's only 50 units in it. So today, sometimes I would just go ahead and use 2 of these, because I think this is my very last syringe like this. And in a way, this is good, because when we went to the doctor's office yesterday, we went to see our endocrinologist. You know you have a family proclivity when the endocrinologist office trip is a family event. But my other family member got some things accomplished, and I found out, and I'm pretty excited about getting U500 insulin. So I'm pulling it beyond where my insulin unit should start, because I had an air gap and air bubbles. Air bubbles are not your friend. Okay, that dissipated. So we'll pull back to just above 70, and then I'm going to pull the vial out straight up. Okay, let me go ahead and insert that. Take this apart. Bend the needle so it can't be reused. I don't like for people to know that I'm diabetic, because there's certain portion of the criminal element that will steal your syringes, and you don't want those kind of people breaking in your house. I had some people break in my house once, and they took the end of a cable, a TV cable, coax, and they took the metal end off of it, and then they took a medicine bottle and this, of course, isn't a medicine bottle, but they drilled a hole in the medicine bottle and put that cable connector in that hole, and they were using a medicine bottle as a pipe. Yeah, okay. It's a long story how I found out they did that, but anyway, as you look at these vials, U100, oh, and that was the last of those types of syringes, but it says, even on the syringes, it says that, I'm going to clean my stomach while I talk, with this alcohol pad, you sterilize it so you don't get an infection on your injection site. Anyway, the U500 is a very viscous or thicker insulin. And so 5 units of this insulin, the U500 has the same effect in 1 unit. So it's 5 times more effective. And it's the RU500, and they're going to give that to me because it's very, it's a little more dangerous if you make a mistake with it, because you've got more intense impact. Let me see if it says on this one. Yeah, it says BD, which is a name brand, U100 insulin. So this syringe is made for U100. So when I go over to the U500, I have to be very, very careful, and I'll have to have different types of syringes. So I think I was very fortunate in not using the having a lot of syringes supplies left. Yeah, there it goes. Because I won't have syringes to dispose of that are waste. You know, there's a place where you can turn back in your unused pills, but syringes, you pretty much, if you're not going to use them, you have to trash them. They have very long expiration dates. They don't... But, you know, when I have to shoot up, let me get that syringe back out, with the U100, with this insulin, the U100, that you saw when I was taking the long term, and even the short term at 68, and having to pull this plunger all the way out to the end, that I even pulled the plunger out. So there's a great amount of difficulty in taking insulin where you have to pull the plunger out almost to the end. It's very hazardous. I was very lucky that all of it just didn't spill out on the table and, you know, lose it. You know, have it wasted. I don't want to waste anything. So that is extremely hazardous. And also, it puts you at risk of having high blood sugars because you don't have a good delivery system. You know, it's I don't know, it's just psychologically different when you have to take over 200 units of insulin a day. I suppose, even though having to shoot up is not a normal life thing for a majority of people, when I do my insulins and when I keep track, I don't keep track of my insulin real well. Usually people will write down everything. Of course, your meter has a memory and keeps track of what your blood sugars have been and what time. But normally when you track, also, it just feels like diabetes owns me. I don't own my own body. And that's a real issue. And I have to shoot up 5 times a day. Long term in the morning and evening, and then at each meal. And at each meal, you take a morning fasting, which I just did, and you shoot up with that, and then you eat. Before you eat, 30 minutes. Well, on the U500, 30 minutes before you eat. But I'm on the U100 right now. You shoot up before you eat, then you eat, and then you wait 2 hours or 1 hour, depending on what your doctor's told you. You test again. So you shot up twice just for breakfast. Then you go before lunch and you test and shoot up, and then you have lunch, and then 1 to 2 hours after lunch you test again, and then before dinner the same thing. Test, shoot up, wait 1 to 2 hours, and test again, and then you do a bedtime with your long term. And some people do one after that. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, possibly 10 times you're testing your blood sugar every day. Every single day. Before and after each meal, and in the morning and in the evening. And you're shooting up 5 times a day. And it's hard to keep track of. Now, I've got someone in my household that I prompt her to do that, but then when it comes to myself, I have more problems getting it done. And so having to shoot up that many times, and every time pulling that plunger, almost to the end, it's sometimes daunting to do that. So I'm really, really happy I'm getting the U500. The dosages are different. The number of times I have to test is less, and I'm not sure exactly what the instructions are yet for me. I've watched a couple of videos online, so I have an idea of what to expect, what my doctor might tell me to do in my instructions for my U500. I'm pretty excited about being able to use it instead of the U100. I don't know how I'm going to get the syringes, on and on. So it's all new to me, but I'm very happy about it because it'll be less testing, it'll be less shooting up, it'll be shooting up less amount of insulin into my body. But all of that comes with a little bit of cost because I'm going to have to pay very good attention to every little detail. And because if you make a mistake with the U500, it is less forgiving than the U100 because it's more powerful. So I hope you'll stay on this journey with me and see how this transition happens to me. I've been waiting a couple of years for this approval. So this is a pretty big deal in my healthcare. And, I hope to share this with people, and maybe I can help someone out there that's struggling like I am or have been. And hopefully, it's going to be blue skies and much better in the future with my diabetes. Have a wonderful and blessed day, everyone.